What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to another Resplendent review, and this is going to be my in-depth analysis and review of Lukas, and I'll be going over the best builds that you can run on him, and at the end I'll also have a special bonus segment that you guys like a lot. So Resplendent Lukas is a Lance Infantry unit. He's actually a Gen 1 unit, and even though he is quite old, there's still not much competition going on in the free-to-play pool in terms of this class, so still he can function as a pretty nice physical tank with his high defense, and now with the Resplendent stats he can hit base 40 defense, which ties him up with Brave Dimitri for the highest defense for an infantry lance unit, so he can definitely function really well in that role. Sadly, his weapon refine is a victim of the early refines. All it does is that it gives him -1 special cooldown, which is by far the best effect out of this refine, and then the refine effect is just sturdy stance 2. Yep, just +4 attack and defense in the enemy phase. But unfortunately, this weapon doesn't really give him anything too unique in terms of effect, especially when you compare this to like a modern preferred weapon. So Lukas definitely gets dealt a short hand in that aspect. And like I was saying, there's not too much competition for infantry lance units in the 3-star, 4-star pool, and we have like barely any of them. We just have Oboro and Donald giving him the competition. Oboro is definitely a pretty apt comparison because she does have more resistance and slightly more speed at the cost of having less attack and less HP. Donald is like a middle ground of Oboro and Lukas, but unfortunately his weapon refine that he got is strictly player phase, but still many Donald users do use him for enemy phase. And then we also have Summer Norn in the Grail pool. She's the most different one here because she doesn't really have to run a dual skill for arena usage, and she also has a speed stat, so she can run the damage reduction builds and still be really bulky, and in a way just use her speed stat defensively for preventing the doubles. Meanwhile, all of these other lance units are going to be getting doubled. So if you like Lukas a lot, he can still be used as a physical tank, but he definitely appreciates the max investment with merges and dragon flowers like any other Gen 1 unit. And he also requires some premium skills because his base kit and also his preferred weapon and the refine doesn't really do him too many favors. So let's take a look at some of the builds that he can run. The first build is with his Daybreak Lance, so you basically want to retaliate back with Bonfire by running a Breath Sacred Seal here. Steady Breath really goes well with his physical tanking playstyle, and Sturdy Stance 3 is amazing for giving him the guard effect, and you can also run Sturdy Stance 2 if you're on a budget, but the guard effect really helps a unit like him who's gonna get doubled a lot because of his speed stat. And then I would say that Courtly Candle is pretty much his preferred weapon more than the Daybreak Lance, because I see so many Lukas users using this weapon over his preferred weapon. And for a good reason, because Courtly Candle basically gives him +5 attack and defense, and also provides him with 50% damage reduction on foe's first attack if he gets doubled. And with his speed, he's gonna be getting doubled most of the time, so he can get that damage reduction and be incredibly bulky. Courtly Candle and Stout Lance are basically the same thing. Courtly Candle is present in the Grail pool with Dancer Eldigan, while as the Stout Lance is present in the Summon pool on Roshia, so it really depends on which unit you have. So even with this build, you want to run Sturdy Stance 3, it's by far his best slotted skill for physical tanking, as it provides him with the guard effect. You can also run Lull Attack Defense in a slot B, and instead of running a Breath Sacred Seal, you can just run Quick Riposte and have Bonfire, which you can still trigger in a single round of combat against an enemy. You can also use him in Summoner duels if you really like him. I don't really think that he does something too unique there, but still he can be utilized there with a Courtly Candle build. But here in Summoner duels, you're not going to be just facing the physical threats like you would in PvE, so you definitely want to have more versatility here so that he can take magical hits, and for that you can run Deflect Magic with Bracing Stance. So not only this gives you the extra resistance and the guard effect, but Deflect Magic will give you 80% damage reduction on the double hit, and then Courtly Candle already gives you 50% damage reduction on the first hit, so you can actually surprisingly survive many magical hits with this kind of build at max investment. Still, like I said, it's not really something too unique, but still if you want to play in Book 3 and prior metagame in Summoner duels, then this is something that he could do with Lukas, and with his high HP he can certainly utilize Infantry Pulse to maybe pulse down a threat, maybe an AoE nuke, and then you can use him at max investment with a distant counter build. I've definitely seen many Lukas users do this, and they just don't want to limit him to physical tanking. and also want to use him for range tanking against bow units and also dagger units. But if you can stack up enough resistance with summoner support, merges, dragon flowers, the resplendent stats, the extra 5 resistance out of distance stance, then he can surprisingly tank magical hits here. And he also gets the 50% damage reduction with his stout lance or courtly candle, so that can also add to his bulk. And then joint drive guard is also there to provide you with some extra resistance. Whenever we get warding breath, people are going to be running that sacred seal over steady breath just so that he can increase his resistance even more. This doesn't really make him into any kind of really amazing distant counter unit or anything like that, but it's still something if you want to make him into a mixed tank and you just want to tank any and all kinds of foes with Lukas. You can also use him in arena with B-Dual Infantry 4, and there I feel like Unbound Lance is also a really good option because it has got a lot of attack defense built into it. Most of the time you're going to be running Lukas with quicker post in slot B and then running Breath Sacred Seal, so that's why having the loud skill in your weapon can be really good. And this is another really good lance option which Lukas can utilize and gives you really good mileage in arena where people are going to be running a lot of rally skills. Now unfortunately, he's not using his preferred weapon, so that's why we have to run a 300 SP slot C skill in joint drive attack to get the max arena scoring. But I feel like instead of running his preferred weapon, he gets more out of these inheritable weapons who also have really good effects and actually more unique effects than his preferred weapon, which mainly just functions there to give him a -1 special cooldown. You can also run him in Aether Raid's offense if you really want to use him there, and you can combine him with a far safe tank, so he can function with steadfast lance there so that he can neutralize any kind of attack and defense penalty, which is going to be happening if you put him on the front line against Note. And there's also Eldigans with Wagasa Plus, which has got chill defense, so he can just be covered by a far safe tank as he focuses on the melee matchups. But unfortunately, a safe tank can just do this role much better. Like if you run Arden or Benny even from the free-to-play pool, they can also do the same thing but with a safe skill. Finally, if you really want to invest into speed heavily, a lot of people love to speed meme, so this is a build if you want to do that. And Lukas is inherently a pretty slow unit, but if you stack enough speed at max investment, then you can pretty much hit like 59 speed with this kind of build. And Springy Lance Plus is really useful for that. The main advantage of using a speed build is pretty much the fact that he can deny follow-ups of the faster opponents, which his other builds cannot. And then he also gets to use his null follow-up. Because of his high HP, he can be used in Pawns of Loki for scoring and also helping your allies with sudden panic. Slaying Spear could definitely be helpful against the armor units like Zelgis for example that may be used and seen in Pawns of Loki. Lukas I feel like definitely deserved a really proper and nice weapon, so this is my theory craft if I were to give him a re-refine. So Daybreak Lance would still have the -1 special cooldown, but now he would have a rain effect so that he can debuff the foes within 2 spaces of him for -5 attack and defense. This could also help his allies, and I think that really goes well with his personality of being a calm and reliable person in the Deliverance. So the allies benefiting from the presence of Lukas is going to be really nice and fitting. And if you run him with a far safe tank who can cover him for the range matchup, then they can also enjoy this debuff. And this gives Lukas a supportive type of niche, which he didn't really have before with the Daybreak Lance. And then for his weapon refine, I would give him another -5 attack and defense debuff that he can do on the foe, but this time only during the combat. And he can also reduce the damage from foe's first attack by 40%. So because Courtly Candle is used so much, I feel like you need to have some kind of damage reduction in his refine. Before, like, we did have Shershi who got used a lot with Brave Axe, so even though her base weapon was Hammer Plus, they actually ended up giving her a preferred Brave Axe. So they definitely have the data of which weapon is used most on which kind of unit, so they can get an idea of what kind of weapon effect they should be giving to these kinds of units. And I feel like because Courtly Candle is so heavily used on him, having that kind of damage reduction in his refine would have been so awesome to have this kind of preferred Courtly Candle just for Lukas. So let me know what you think about my theory craft in the comment section down below, and make sure to share this video with your friends if they are building up Lukas or are really excited about his Resplendent version. And if you enjoyed, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps me tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more Resplendent reviews, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I wish YouTube sub boxes were also as chill and reliable as Lukas over here. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.